Schaeffer Douglas Title, where are you guys based in?
So we have 3 office locations, one in Topsom, which I live about 5 minutes from that office, and then one in Yarmouth, and then one in South Portland at Sable Oaks.
Okay.
And I've clocked them for the mileage, and it's bizarre, but they're each 17 miles apart. Like,
Okay.
exactly. Super easy to get to, right off of 295. Convenient parking, I'm not going to lie. I joke about that a little bit, but I mean, going into a closing, it's a little bit stressful regardless. So I think it is kind of nice to just know that you can kind of cruise on in and out, and a lot less stress in that sense. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And you don't, exactly have to be purchasing a house in Yarmouth or in Portland. You can go to the client as well, right?
Yep, 100%. Yeah, we do travel closings. I'm usually the one that is on the road for those. We do ask for some flexibility. Fridays are typically, as you can imagine, our busiest days for closings because people want the weekends to move.
Yeah.
So we try to keep the closings in-house on Friday just so we can stack them.
Right.
So as long as you guys have some flexibility, we certainly can travel like during the midweek.
Yeah.
And if the Friday works, we can make it work too. So,
Okay,
yeah.
cool. Yeah, and you're kind of like the last person they see, right,
yes.
on their big day.
Yes, exactly.
The big closing day, they've gone through the application process, they've toured numerous amounts of homes,
Yes.
and finally, right, they have their closer with the title agency
Yes.
to seal the deal on the property.
Exactly.
So I know everyone kind of has an idea as to what a loan officer does, what the real estate agent does, but I have some questions of my own with exactly how the title company acts as an entity in the mortgage transaction.
Yep,
So
absolutely.
just kind of fill me in a little bit on some bullet points as to the primary goals of a title agent.
Absolutely. So a lot of people, I don't think, realize this, but it is the buyers that actually get the option to choose which title company they use. Obviously, a lot of people don't know about title companies or what we do, so that's why we're out in the field educating loan officers and realtors to be able to kind of educate their clients as to what we do. So we connect the pieces, if you will. We're going to do the title search, which is going to make sure that the property is free and clear to be sold.
Yep.
So no liens on it. If we do happen to find liens, we can usually clear it during the transaction itself so that we can get to closing.
Yep.
So we get the orders coming from the realtors and the loan officers, because we do need the lender order as well to come through our system to set up the file. And so then what happens from that point on is that file is assigned a closing coordinator, and that's our processors who process the file. And so that's the dedicated person that the buyers, the sellers, the loan officers, and the realtors are all working with to get to closing. And they actually have their hands involved in all parts of it, if you will. So they're going to talk to the town, get the tax information. We'll do prorations for taxes. We'll talk, the water and sewer, so everything we just get finalized. So they're really the go-to, kind of the glue that puts everything together.
Yep.
I remember when I first started, when they would hand me the file for closing, I mean, they're like, a couple inches thick, and it's just all paperwork. And there's just so much work that goes into each file. And I just remember when they'd hand it off to me, it's just like gold almost. I'm like, I just know the depth of it, all that's involved with it. So there are a lot of pieces to it. The closing coordinator is definitely involved a lot with all parties. I'm, like you said, the last line, if you will. So usually when I get to closing, people are like, oh, are you, so-and-so who processed the file? Because that's who they've spoken with. Yeah. And it's not me per se, but yeah, so I get to finalize everything and wrap it up. So you just want to make sure you have the go-to person. And then, of course, if anyone needs any extra kind of contact person, if you will, I always am available as well. So I'm a kind of a good go-to. If you ever have any issues or any questions or whatnot, I can kind of help direct and get you to the right place.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, you guys find a lot of the things that are almost hidden in a way.
Yes.
I mean, as far as, should I do a survey? Should I not?
Yes.
And exactly what does a survey do?
Yes. So we highly encourage MLIPs, so the mortgage loan inspection plans.
Yeah.
I know Academy Mortgage is awesome with getting those sent through. A lot of lenders do require them, but not all of them. With cash transactions, where there's no lenders involved, we do recommend an MLIP, and it is a lot cheaper than a survey. A full-blown survey is going to cost you thousands of dollars, but the MLIP is about $325. It can vary per location, but what it does is they'll read the deed, and they'll actually go to the property and just walk the property line according to the deed, and it can show clear issues per se. Just last week we actually had an MLIP with a serious issue where a garage was built 20 feet over the property line.
Whoops.
Yeah, exactly. So that is still in flux right now. But it's like stuff like that, very clear that you can see. So that's a good backup for people that are wondering or curious, especially also with new builds. You might think you're free and clear, you don't need an MLIP, but we recommend after the foundation's poured to go out and do the MLIP, because we've actually had builders miss and go over the property line.
Oh boy.
So it definitely can happen. It's a nice kind of backup for, about $325, just that peace of mind. And you actually get this really nice sketch that you can see the whole property outlined, and you can kind of carry that off if you were to sell it in the future.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a key topic of discussion right there, because the survey is optional.
Yes,
right?
exactly.
You don't have to get it, right? So it may be something that's overlooked the first time, and then you go to sell the home 5-6 years down the road, and that person decides to get the survey.
Exactly. And then something comes up, and then, And that's why hopefully they got the title insurance, because then that's when they're going to reach out to the title insurer, and they'll go to bat for you. Because, again, you bought the property with the intent that it was free and clear.
Right.
And
the title insurance is also optional.
Correct,
so
correct.
What happens if you don't have the title insurance?
You're probably going to be out a lot of money.
Oh boy.
So if you don't have your title insurance, then it's up to you to go and hire your own attorney. Whatever their clocked hours are, you're going to be paying out of pocket. So if you have your owner's title insurance, it's just that one-time premium that you pay up front as part of your closing, and then it protects you for the lifetime that you own the property.
Gotcha.
So it's definitely a good investment for the biggest investment of your life, probably.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
So
it makes me remember the time that I had so believe it or not, I had a closing all the way in Pennsylvania. Okay, I used to be licensed there.
Nice.
And I had clients I'd been working with for, almost 9 months. And, halfway through, they were stressed, first-time home buyers, and I promised them, I'm going to be there at closing, etc. And this was at a completely different shop at the time. So then I moved over to Academy. 2 months in, long story short, they called me and they said, guess what? We're under contract.
Ooh.
I guess I'm going to make the 6-hour drive down there, right? I keep my word. So we ended up doing the title search. We did the survey, everything. And a few weeks in, we kept being told by the title company that everything was good,
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden something came up with the survey where we had already had it appraised by this point.
Yeah.
And they were selling it on 2 parcels of land.
Yeah.
Well, that second parcel had shared ownership with 4 other households.
Oh, wow.
And there was also a shared well. And we couldn't track down the agreement at the time.
Oh, no.
So it was just hairy as heck.
Yeah.
Basically, title came back and said, we can't insure that second parcel. And this is an FHA loan. How the heck am I supposed to write a mortgage on 1 parcel of land without a water source?
Oh, gosh. Yeah. Oh, my.
So it completely blew up in everyone's face.
Oh, gosh.
We ended up actually switching title companies and it had to make it work.
Gotcha. There are certain things that they can do affirmative action. Like if you can talk to the insurer, there are certain things that they can wiggle a little bit, if you will.
Yeah,
so it does help to have a good title company that you're dealing with that can communicate with the actual insurer.
Yeah. Well, they definitely came through too.
Nice.
That second title company was like, it's something that completely could have killed the whole deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
It wasn't something that I had thought about in the beginning. But cool, yeah. And on top of everything else, you guys are also kind of like the neutral source where escrow goes, where, those mortgage payments go, all that.
Yep, exactly. Right? So that's part of like the closing coordinator's job is to collect all that data. So, we'll get the final mortgage payoff for the sellers. So we deal with all sides, if you will. The sellers can choose to pick their own attorney to draw up the deed. That's the only real fee that we would tack on the seller side is to prepare the deed for them. So it's up to them if they want to do that on their own, that's fine. But besides that, it would be working with all parties, like you said, so the sellers and getting mortgage payoffs. As part of our post-closing, that's when we would send out those payoffs on the seller's behalf. So everything is itemized right on the settlement statement, so you can see exactly the number that is being paid out. And that does come directly from their servicer. So whoever holds that mortgage, we get it directly from them. So sometimes at the table, we will get questions as to the figure itself. That's nothing we at the title company put together. We can't wiggle that around at all. That comes directly from their servicer. And then, of course, as you know, when we do send those payoffs, if anyone is escrowing, if there happens to be an overage when we send that payoff, that servicer will mail that check back to that seller, if you will.
Okay. All right. What's like some, we've talked a little bit about the survey, the title insurance. What's some insider expertise that, before you even got into the title business, you didn't really understand and now you do and you're like, oh, I would totally do that?
So I would say just making sure everything lines up in the very beginning. I've seen a lot of issues with the basics of names, spelling. So just like weird stuff like that. One story I had this lady that submitted her contract spelled a certain way, let's say one L, but her legal name had two L's. So, we had that at the table. We get to closing and, oh yeah, and she's like, I look at her ID, I'm like, it's spelled wrong, let me go fix it. She's like, but that's how I've always spelled my name. I just like it that way. I'm like, that is not life. I'm like, that doesn't work that way.
Oh boy.
So again, though, we're at the table, so we had to go to the lender and get a whole new closing package. Yeah. So just like the little things that you might overlook, it seems basic, but it's pretty important.
Yeah.
So being mindful, I think, of crossing the T's, dotting the I's kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm very organized. I might be a little OCD. Like when you are at my closings, I have a lot of piles of paper, and it's really funny because at the end it just all comes together and it's like a little magic trick.
Yeah.
So I think that helps a lot as well, just making sure that I have everything in order. There's no training manual for being a closer. It's a lot of shadowing and just that repetition. And so whenever I do have a closing, I will go through the file beforehand, and there's a certain order that I like to have it in.
Yep.
So I know what to expect. I have summaries for all of the documents. So it's nice to be able to do that. And you read the room too. If you have a client that has bought and sold, 5 times, they probably don't care. Right. And they're good to sign. And if that's the case, then we just keep pushing the paper along. But if it's a first-time home buyer, maybe just a second home purchase, I do take the time and I'll go through and I'll summarize the forms. Summaries are usually good enough, which is awesome, because if they were to read everything, we'd be there for probably 3 hours. Right. But yeah, so stuff like that. It took me a while, but I've got it down pretty good. And just, I think, like I said, having that consistency, that repetition definitely helps me a lot. I get it at the table too with people, frequent realtors and loan officers. They're like, you probably say this in your sleep. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty automated. Yeah. But it's fun just because every closing is different. Every person is different. You get to engage in different ways. So I really enjoy it. And it's not challenging for me in that regard, I think, which is very special. I know there's a lot of people that have a hard time kind of being in that position, but I can run a table pretty good.
Yeah, so. Right. Not to mention too, that could be the day that they remember you, in a good way or a bad way, right? And
exactly.
No matter what party you're of, whether you're the realtor, the title, or the loan officer.
Yes.
And exactly like you said, if you're a buyer compared to the seller across the table, they have 10 times more documents to sign.
It's so interesting.
Yeah. So, for me playing my part in that, I'm usually prepping them, in addition to their loan estimate, their preliminary closing disclosures. Usually I just invite them in, and I'm like, all right, we're closing on Friday. Yep. This is a good opportunity. It's Wednesday.
Yes,
let's go over.
Oh, I love it. And not everyone does that, Jake, so thank you. Seriously. Right. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Well, not to mention, that's supposed to be, a fun day. Right?
Yes, thank you.
Let's not spend 2 hours in the, closing office.
With the paperwork, nitty gritty kind of. Yeah, right. I'm with you. Definitely.
Right. Cool. So let's take it back a little bit. So, because what I like about you is that you're a little bit in title, but you're also pretty well-rounded in real estate as well. You were at one time a realtor too?
Yes, way back when.
Way back in the day.
Yes, way back in the day. So I was a realtor for about 4 years, so I actually got my associates. I absolutely loved it. My first transaction, I think I had mentioned, was to buy my house. So
makes sense.
Funny thing too, though, is Eric Shaeffer did my closing.
Oh, okay.
I know, very, very bizarre. So his signature is on my deed to the house. And so then, take it 10 years later, and now I'm working for him. But no, so I did the real estate for about 4 years, and I was waitressing, as a supplemental, if you will. And I loved real estate. And then I transitioned to a CRM. Actually, it's the CRM you guys use.
Oh, yeah?
I worked for top of mind, Surefire.
Oh, yeah?
Yep. So I worked for them for 6 years.
Okay.
And I loved that too. And it also kept me involved in real estate, just a different aspect with loan officers. So I went to a lot of the national conventions, so I was able to, keep that industry in my life, if you will.
Yeah.
And so then again, fast forward after 6 years from that, so almost 4 years now I've been with Schaeffer Douglas. And so that was my next step, was in the title side. So I feel like I've had every little aspect in real estate.
Yep.
And it was really lovely coming back into title or in real estate in Maine. That was my other thing. Like I had a good network nationally, but I love our state. I love our people. I was born and raised in Maine, always be a Mainer. And so no, I wanted the connections here. Like I wanted my network here. And so I was fortunate enough to crisscross with the closer that used to work with Schaeffer Douglas, and I ended up interviewing with Eric, and the same day he offered me the job. So I immediately just shifted gears and gave my appropriate notice, of course, like you do.
Yeah.
And then I just jumped right in, and I haven't looked back. I am so happy and so grateful. And I'm, like I said, I'm almost 4 years in now. So
yeah, it's interesting how everything kind of ties together. Where you're like, how did I end up here? And then you look back at what you did previously, and you're like, oh, okay, I kind of see how I was slowly making my way to this.
Thank you. I completely agree, because I always wondered. I'm like, am I gonna find a fit? You just always wonder, I guess.
Yeah.
And it is weird how it just kind of came full circle, and I'm like, oh my God, it can happen, and
Right.
I look forward to going to work every day. We have great employees. Like it's like family.
Yeah.
There's only about 16 of us, so it is a small shop, if you will. But I am lucky because I get to go between all of our offices, so I get to see everyone on the regular. And I mean, they're just so sweet and kind and genuinely care. And I think that shows on the, processing side as well. I get a lot of feedback at the table, how, so-and-so did amazing. Like, and literally you can tell they really care. And that means the world to me. Like, this is a huge transaction for people. And I know the emotions that can be involved, and I want it to be happy. I understand transitions can be hard, but ultimately, hopefully it's into something new, new and good. So.
Yeah. And the interesting thing too is this is not a transactional based business. This is it's your first home now, but
Yes.
maybe in 5 years it'll be your second home, or maybe you'll be doing investment properties.
Yeah.
Like let's facilitate that yeah.
Yeah.
Remember me next time.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Staying top of mind.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. So, but kind of back to what you were saying too, where it all kind of falls together. I think that's next to someone that's been doing title for 20 years, right?
Yeah.
Who's just a complete expert in just that.
Yeah.
I think it's almost as beneficial too to just come from a dynamic of related roles.
Thank you. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people, are in that not really in that same mindset, but they're getting there. And there's all that stress, on your shoulders to like kind of find what you like to do. And it's like, right? If you don't have that idea as to exactly what you want to do right now, then just consistently build yourself, consistently educate yourself.
Thank you. Yes.
And it'll all kind of happen.
I feel like I go in spurts where I do the educational piece. Like I get to a certain point, like I said, that last job, it was 6 years, and I was like, okay, I'm ready to learn something new as well though.
Yeah.
So I think constantly growing and just adapting is very key as well. And I'm lucky with the side of title that we have a lot of, as you know, conventions and just different educational pieces that we can continue on in that realm. So
Yeah.
I feel like I'm in a very good spot, so I'm going to ride the wave as long as I can, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I can definitely tell you like it. I think when you love what you do, you tend to want to teach it in a way.
Yep.
One of the things I do, like with a first-time home buyer has completely no idea, even pre-application, is I'll bring them in and I'll show them the 30-year treasury yield. And just blow their mind, and I'll just be like, yeah. So this is basically how your interest rate is weighed into the equation, right? And I'm like, I tell them everything right from the beginning,
love that, though.
and just take 40 minutes just explaining
That's
the
brilliant.
bond market,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
And then we kind of get into the idea of like, this isn't even an application conversation.
Yep.
This is like
Educational, 100%. Yeah, makes a huge difference.
Definitely,
Yeah.
definitely. Do you go to like seminars at all for home buying classes or anything like that?
I haven't a lot yet. I'd like to get more involved in that.
Yeah.
I think obviously with the whole COVID thing, everything just shut down quite quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we are starting to kind of get back up on that. So hopefully we'll be able to do some more classes. I did one with Tamika Donahue a month or so ago, and it was for just like a walkthrough of a closing, like a mock closing. And it was actually it went off really, really good. Basically, like I would go through it and then they'd stop me. It was actually Megan and Tamika. And just kind of reiterate what I was saying or ask some questions. And it just helped the realtors really kind of learn a little bit more. So that was super helpful. Yep. So anything that we can do, like you said, to kind of educate, even if it's, a quick one-on-one phone call, like just to help people get a better grasp on what we do or what they might need, we're willing to do that for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Seminars right now are huge for me as well. I teamed up with Kelly Sahaba with Keller Williams.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
And he does a lot.
Updates, yeah.
He does a lot too. And we had a seminar last week through Opportunity Alliance with first-time homebuyers. And it was the first seminar I've done to the consumers, right?
Oh, wow, yeah.
I've been to realties, all that stuff.
Yep.
But this was the first time where it was like, and believe it or not, we had a whole slideshow presentation built.
Yeah.
We were ready to go in there all professional. And they, for scheduling purposes, they changed our rooms last minute.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and we didn't have like the pull down screen for the slideshow.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, so basically we just freestyled it, and
Love it.
Yeah, but it was so natural,
engaging. I bet
so much more engaging. It was completely all Q&A.
I love it,
yeah.
And I bet they had so many questions.
So
that's
many
the
questions.
thing, and just to have a person that is in that industry and can that's huge. I think that's huge,
right?
And it's like the basics, that they don't know. Yeah. So that's a good aspect of it too, a good realm to look into.
People like have genuine questions, like whether it's it could be we talked 30 minutes about credit.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That wasn't even on the list.
The topic. Oh gosh. Yeah.
So we just talked 30 minutes about credit repair.
Yeah.
And I know that title I touched a little bit on title, but I was like, there's only so far I can travel down that avenue.
Love it.
There's a lot of things going on.
Yes.
Right. Right.
Oh.
Cool.
No, that is impressive though, because it just to be able to have that one-on-one and more of a casual setting, I think too probably made it more comfortable for them and probably easier to engage. So I think that was smart.
Yeah.
So it probably worked out better that you didn't have the projector thing.
Right. And it's just a great way too to get involved with the community. I mean, Maine is such a people-friendly place where it's like everyone wants to have a guy or a gal, right, that they can go to.
Exactly.
Right.
I love it.
100%. So with Surefire CRM, you worked there for how long?
6 years.
6 years.
Yeah.
So I think anyone that's like, whether you're small business, entrepreneur, whatever.
Yeah.
CRMs are huge.
They are very important to have a database.
Yeah.
100%. Yep.
Yeah. Biggest thing for me right now is just creating a reminder. Reminder list of check-ins.
Yeah. That's brilliant. Yeah.
And believe it or not, with a CRM, I find the biggest kind of weakness with them is the ability to learn it quickly.
Oh, yes. Yep. Yeah.
I don't know. What were some like key takeaways with Surefire that you saw as a CRM that was like better than kind of its competitors?
Yeah, I think a lot of the marketing that was built in was crucial. They had we had a good marketing team, if you will, so a lot of original, their little cards, their videos. So I think that was a huge win for us, and it set us apart at the time. And just building, honestly, like my network too, being like that personal thing, just being able to build that. And sticking even in Maine. Like I said, I had you guys. There was a couple other lenders that are in Maine too that I have had as clients. So it was kind of cool to just have that, connecting that piece as well.
Yeah.
The automation of it was crucial too. It was super easy for people, like kind of set it and forget it, which I don't recommend. I think you should definitely be involved in your database. I also did love the birthday reminders. I thought that was a nice little touch, that it's just an easy way to reach out to people. So a lot of the automation part of it I think was helpful. But again, keeping it up to date too. That's the other thing, any shifting, just get in and update the database. But yeah, it was definitely, I learned a lot from them. And just, I think, interacting with the industry, just people in general. I did a lot, like I said, of events. I would travel to them. I actually played in a golf tournament in Minnesota for them.
Oh, no kidding.
So I got to travel with my golf clubs.
You go all over.
Oh, yeah, that was a whole hot mess. I'm like, I got it, it's fine. I'm like, and I won ladies' longest putt. Hey, right?
There you go.
But no, so
Did you get a trophy?
I did.
Nice.
It's prominently displayed. But no, so I think building that network was helpful too, and also by doing a bunch of the trade shows, it definitely helped me be more comfortable. And I mean, like I said, it was like maybe a handful of us that would go, and so then you're just meeting a bunch of different people, new people, and I think that's what makes me able to jump in and just talk with anyone, if you will. I think that definitely helped a lot. And efficiency, I'm a very like efficient like traveler, packer, like being mindful of what you might need. Even when we do, travel closings, I like to come prepared in my little backpack here. So when I walk in, I'm like, hi, you can't miss me.
Represent.
So yeah, I definitely got that like organizational part down. So
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Can you do closings like over Zoom?
No.
No. Okay.
Thank you for asking. It is not legal in Maine as far as the mortgage and all that. I don't know. I don't really per se think it would ever get to that point. I think you always are going to have to verify at least the mortgage and the deed. We have certainly seen hybrid closings. I know Academy's been doing those as well.
Yeah.
And I respect the hybrid closing immensely. Like I said, you have to verify who the signer is. So that just is never going to go away.
Yeah.
And I think it's a nice touch at the end to wrap everything up with an actual person and be, representing in person, if you will. So I don't see that going away, but I do like the hybrid. So quite a few lenders are doing that, where people will be able to sign digitally beforehand, and then we just have to verify that they've been signed. If not, then they're printed and signed at the table. So
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so we've seen the hybrid. I think that's at this stage, I think that's the extent of it. I don't foresee it going anywhere else yet. I know they're still talking about it, but I'm not sure of the direction per se. But,
all right. Well, I just learned something new today.
Yay.
Interesting.
I know.
Cool. Yeah, I think because you mentioned that travel golf trip.
Yes.
That's actually one thing I'm looking forward to kind of tying into my business eventually.
Oh, good.
It's like one of my
Love it.
it's like my 3-year goal kind of is to have a reason to I'm just crazy. Like I love the idea of getting on a plane and going to a closing. I just think that's like awesome. Just gives me a reason to travel and I call it business, right?
Exactly. I love that.
Yeah. I coincidentally have a friend that actually lives in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yep.
And he's been calling me nonstop. He just became a realtor like a year ago.
Oh, nice.
And now he's actually getting quite a bit of business, and Raleigh is like huge with real estate.
That's awesome.
And so he's like, man, you really got to get your license down
I was going to say,
here.
you licensed there yet? No?
No, I'm working on it.
Good.
Working on it. But yeah, that would be huge. I was like telling him on the phone, I was like, I would love to just, I already looked at plane tickets.
Yeah, I was just going to say, and just like a little jump down the road. Yeah, you're good.
Yeah.
I love that.
$125 for a round trip to Raleigh.
Oh my God.
Right? Why
No
not?
brainer.
Well, why not?
Get it done.
Yeah. It's just a way to make your job more fun,
Well, that's exactly it. It's a career and you want to enjoy it, and I am grateful that I love the game of golf, and in real estate, it's a part of it. And I'm super lucky that I can do, work and golf at the same time.
Yeah,
so it's
definitely.
nice. It's nice.
What are some things that you kind of gathered, like as you went from real estate to title? I don't know. What are some things that you got out of it? Like maybe that you saw in yourself too that you didn't see before?
I think just a lot communication. I think that's key. I know I lived with a loan officer for a while, and he was definitely on top of just getting back to people. And even if it's just like, I read your message, just give me a few minutes, I'll get back to you kind of thing. Just that acknowledgement. So I think that personal touch is key, and I think just being able to have those communications, those open communications, is the biggest aspect of it. And I think obviously for what I do, it's, transactional in the sense that I am just dealing with the public all the time. Yeah. So I think being able to have that communication, but also making sure that everything is correct. Like I was saying from the beginning, making sure the contracts are correct. I'm very, like I said, organized. So I think that that's a part of it. Yeah. So I think kind of keeping those pieces together makes everything easier for everyone, if you will.
Yeah.
So starting from the basic, like the bottom, and then everything kind of like goes into place.
Yeah, and it kind of it makes them feel like you're more of just like a title agent, or more of just like a loan officer, where it's like you only talk to them about
Thank you.
what's next on the task list?
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing that I don't want. Like, I want that personal relationship. So I try to stay out and in the community even. We are part of a couple of the chambers. So not just, like you said, not just the realtor or the loan officer. It is like more of a dynamic and kind of just connecting people as well. Like last week I knew a realtor and a loan officer that had a few common interests. So I reached out to the both of them and they hit it off, So it's just kind of connecting different people, I think, and making it all work together for everyone, I guess.
Yeah.
So that would be a big part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one big thing that I've learned too is just kind of calling somebody off the cuff and just being like, hey, how we doing?
Yes.
How's your Tuesday? How's your Wednesday going?
Exactly.
Right? And just have nothing, just let conversation spur up, right? I mean, it can't just be like, hey, I'm calling you this week because I need this and that type of document.
Exactly.
And a lot of times something will come up. They will have something on their mind. They'll be talking to friends,
oh, by the way,
family.
this, I forgot. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
No. And that does make the biggest difference is having those outside relationships. I completely agree. Yeah. And being mindful of those little connections, and just like remembering little pieces and just, having that to come back to with people, and just, it makes a huge difference.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So you do quite a bit of business over at Shaeffer.
Yes.
Where are you guys, like, what do you have objectives for the next 3 years as to what you're trying to do? What's your next way of kind of branching out, or?
Not per se. I know, obviously expanding our network is always crucial. So I think me kind of hitting the road a little bit more is going to be key in the next couple years. And just getting our name out there. It's that consistency, like I said. There's a lot of little mom and pop title companies, so it's just making sure that they know that we're there. And I've had a lot of people that the Topsom office is our newest office, but it's still been there for 5 or 6 years. And literally, like just last year, they're like, oh, you have an office in Topsom? I'm like, oh, God. So it's like little stuff like that I just want to make sure, we're getting our name out there. And just being part of a lot of like the conventions, like we did MAR in, fall with Academy. And that was a really awesome event. And again, just the consistency makes a difference, showing up and just being present. So I think that's kind of my goal, is just to make sure that I'm always on that same circuit, if you will. So that's me personally. As far as the company goes, I have to talk to Eric. I don't know exactly. But we're in a good spot right now. Like I said, the staff that we have, the employees we have are amazing, and they've all been in the industry. I think I'm the newest. They've all been in at least 10 years. So we've got some very seasoned people. Eric's 20 plus because he was part of H&D Title way back when. So we definitely have, and we've got 2 full-time abstractors on staff, which a lot of title companies hire that out. So we have that at our fingertips. We also not just have Eric as our attorney and owner, we have David West. He's our other attorney. So we have 2 attorneys, which is lovely. So if one's on vacation, we have backup.
Here we go.
So we've got a lot of good things going for us as the company goes itself. So overall, no, I think we are in a really good position. I think it's going to obviously depend on where the market goes at this point. But those are kind of like my little tidbits, my little goals, if you will.
Yeah, no, I think that's solid. You guys definitely have an efficient team. There's colleagues of mine that have been here doing this for 20 years, and Shaeffer's their go-to. And like I said, that experience I had in Pennsylvania is something I never want to deal with again.
Right, exactly.
And that was like, there were so many red flags along the process, and it's like, maybe that could have been caught very early on.
Exactly, and that's the thing. Communication is key, early on, and we start the title search immediately. Like, you send us an order, and we start the title search. We don't wait around. Like, we're not going to wait till you get through inspections or anything like that. Like, we get the order, we go. And it can be tough because then we can get canceled orders if something goes through on the inspection. But we don't mind at all. Like, we would rather get it going right away. And then if it does fall through, it is what it is. But I completely agree. And being transparent, and, if there are issues, we want to fix it as quick as possible. So we're definitely clearly communicating all of that. So
Heck yeah. All right, cool. Well, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Yay, thank you, Jake.
All right, let's do business sometime.
I love it. Thank you.
Talk soon.
Awesome.